1914, the world felt like it was on the cusp of a golden age. New technologies, from automobiles to airplanes, were changing life at a breathtaking pace. Culture and fashion were spreading like wildfire, and for many, it seemed like humanity had reached its peak. But beneath this shimmering surface of progress, a storm was gathering. A war of unprecedented scale was slowly, but surely, approaching. You see, the tensions between the great powers of Europe were already simmering. France was still bitter about losing territory to Germany in a previous war and was desperate to get it back. Germany, a new and ambitious empire, wanted to expand its influence even further. It was building a massive navy, which made Great Britain, the traditional ruler of the seas, very nervous. To the east, the Austro-Hungarian Empire was a sprawling multi-ethnic giant, but it was fragile. Many groups within its borders, like the Serbs and Czechs, craved independence, and their ambitions were often encouraged by Russia, which saw itself as the protector of all Slavic peoples. On top of these political rivalries, military technology had taken a terrifying leap forward. New rifles, machine guns, and powerful artillery had been developed since the last major conflict. In the minds of many generals and politicians, a big war wasn't just possible, it was inevitable. They believed it would be quick, decisive, and glorious. They couldn't have been more wrong. The spark that would ignite this powder keg came from a volatile region in the Balkans. In Austria-Hungary, many Serbs and Bosnians deeply resented being ruled from Vienna. So when the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, decided to visit the city of Sarajevo in an open-top car, he was stepping into a hornet's nest. His parade route was even published in the newspapers beforehand. It was an open invitation for disaster. As the Archduke's motorcade made its way through the city, a group of assassins was waiting. The first attempt failed when a bomb bounced off his car and exploded, injuring others in the crowd. Shaken but determined to continue, the Archduke decided to visit the wounded in the hospital. But confusion led to a critical error. The driver took a wrong turn, and in the process of trying to back up, the car stalled. By a twist of fate, it stopped right in front of one of the conspirators, Gavrilo Princip. He didn't hesitate. He raised his pistol and fired, killing both the Archduke and his wife, Sophie. The assassination sent shockwaves across Europe. Austria-Hungary, furious and looking for a reason to crush its troublesome neighbor, immediately blamed Serbia for orchestrating the attack. With a blank check of support from its powerful ally, Germany, Austria-Hungary sent Serbia a list of extreme demands, designed to be impossible to accept fully. When Serbia refused one of the terms, it was all the excuse Austria-Hungary needed. On July 28, 1914, it declared war. What followed was a catastrophic chain reaction, like a line of dominoes toppling one after another. Russia, honoring its commitment to Serbia, began to mobilize its massive army. This alarmed Germany, which then declared war on Russia. France, allied with Russia, was next. Germany's grand military strategy, the Schlieffen Plan, was to knock France out of the war quickly before Russia could get its forces fully organized. To do this, they planned to bypass France's heavy border defenses by invading through neutral Belgium. The Belgians, however, put up a surprisingly fierce resistance. Germany's violation of Belgian neutrality was the final straw for Great Britain, which had a treaty to protect Belgium, and was now deeply concerned by a hostile German army just across the English Channel. Britain declared war on Germany, and by early August, all the major European powers were embroiled in what would become known as the Great War. In the first few weeks, the armies marched into battle with a confidence that bordered on arrogance. Many soldiers still wore brightly colored uniforms from a bygone era, think bright red trousers and spiked helmets. They were perfect targets for the new, devastating weapons of war. Machine guns could cut down hundreds of men in minutes, and artillery shells could obliterate entire battalions from miles away. The casualties were horrific, forcing all sides to quickly rethink their tactics. The German army surged through Belgium and into France, pushing relentlessly towards Paris. For a moment it looked like their plan for a quick victory might succeed. But the French army, along with the British Expeditionary Force, rallied. In a desperate battle along the Marne River, they managed to halt the German advance and even punch a hole in their lines. The Germans were forced to retreat and regroup. It was at this moment that the nature of the war changed forever. To hold their ground and protect themselves from the endless hail of bullets and shells, both sides started to dig. They dug trenches, What started as simple ditches soon evolved into vast, complex networks of fortifications that stretched for nearly 500 miles, from the Swiss border all the way to the North Sea. This was the birth of the Western Front, and it marked the beginning of a brutal stalemate that would last for 4 long years. Trench warfare became the defining image of World War I. Soldiers lived in these deep, muddy ditches, often just a few hundred yards from the enemy. The space between the opposing trench lines was a terrifying, crater-pocked wasteland known as no man's land. A typical attack would begin with a massive artillery bombardment, sometimes lasting for days, that was meant to destroy the enemy's defenses and barbed wire. Then, a whistle would blow, and soldiers would have to climb over the top, out of their trenches, and charge across the open ground, straight into a storm of machine gun fire. For the chance of capturing a few yards of mud, thousands of lives were sacrificed. Life in the trenches was a living nightmare. The constant mud, sometimes waist-deep, caused a painful condition called trench foot, which could lead to amputation. Rats, grown fat from feasting on the dead, were everywhere. Lice were a constant misery. The water was often polluted, and the air was thick with the stench of decay and poison gas. Above all, there was the constant, gnawing fear, the fear of a sniper's bullet, a random shell explosion, or the dreaded order to go over the top. Yet, amidst these unimaginable horrors, millions of soldiers from all sides endured, holding the line as the world's first modern, industrial war ground on and on, consuming a generation. Thank you for watching. If you found this look into the start of World War I interesting, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more history stories. We'll see you in the next one.